Welcome to the Political Matrix News. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix. Hey, it's the Political Matrix News. We're doing this one day after the Trump inauguration. Our heads are spinning. Rob Milford in Orlando. Greg Fink. Wave at everybody. Greg, he is in the crooked Alachua County, trying to stay warm. And our on-the-scene snow reporter, Scott, are you on your laptop? Can you pick it up and then walk outside so we can see how much snow is there?
No, but I do have some pictures that Greg can flash up.
Okay, flash those pictures. Oh, my God.
But it's dark outside.
Me?
It's dark outside. You can't see.
There might be street lights. Who knows? We'll shoot off a flare.
It is bad. It's a good half a foot or more of and getting the drifts. You know, I was up to my knees at walking around in a snow drift earlier today.
Yep. In a snow drift. In Pensacola, Florida, a snow drift. Come on, man.
Walking in a winter wonderland.
Florida next week, so we're gonna have fun down there.
No. Well, a friend of mine has some friends from New Hampshire. They're down from New Hampshire, and they literally got here day before yesterday, just in time for the winter weather. It is, it's 38 degrees in Fairbanks, Alaska today. It's 27 degrees here in Pensacola.
And according to Fox Weather, the hottest spot in America was in Miami, which is 78.
That's hilarious. Anyway.
Whoa. Greg, I just got the forecast.
You think that's hot.
There's no traffic. Interstate 10 is now closed, and they expect it to be closed for a couple of days.
Oh, yeah.
Freezing rain and winter mix are expected in Marion and Flagler counties. And obviously, it says early morning freezing rain. Yeah.
Yeah, we just got an updated report. You're correct. We are going to have snow tonight. So I was wrong.
No, you're just getting the most up-to-date information.
Yeah, we're getting snow, I guess, in a couple hours.
For you. Everyone should join in.
Good Lord.
The fires need it.
Here's my real question. Since I did not receive a Joe Biden presidential pardon before he left Washington yesterday, did either of you get a pardon?
Not yet.
No, but I think you may be one of the only ones that didn't get one.
You're damn skippy on that, because I'm seeing, and it's one thing when you say the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That is absolutely unprecedented in American history, American military history. They're gobsmacked. What the? You have to pardon a full general. A general with 4 stars is a general. Okay. Below that, 3-star guy is lieutenant general, 2 stars is major general, and the 1st star is brigadier. So
he was acting like a general when he did what he did.
I'm just shocked. And then Dr. Tony Fauci, he who thought he had the cure for COVID, he has been pardoned by the president, and then Joe Biden, what's his name? Biden, pardons his family, his brothers and sister. He's already pardoned his son.
And their husbands and wives.
Yes, and no one's ever seen that before.
No.
And I've got to tell you that Scott is absolutely aghast at who else got pardoned. Tell us, Scott.
Liz Cheney? Oh, my God.
Yeah,
the whole January 6th committee. I can't, these are people who directed their staffs to violate federal law. I mean, and not like, maybe this is on the line, maybe it is a uncontroversial. There's 10 miles across the line, and nothing's going to happen to any of them.
Their staff got pardoned. I mean,
their
staff was pardoned. They were pardoned. I mean, and so whenever that happened, I mean, people are confused about why would Trump go from just pardoning a few hundred of the January 6ers who were nonviolent to just pardoning everybody. Because, I mean, the whole idea is that now, with the entire committee being pardoned, you can't investigate.
But au contraire.
Or can you?
You absolutely can investigate them. And in fact, no. They can haul their ass into Congress and investigate them and make them testify publicly. And because they've been pardoned, they no longer have a Fifth Amendment protection.
Really?
Correct. Yeah, and they can't
They still
say that.
They can still be compelled to say everything that
Yes.
they did.
Yeah,
Tell
they absolutely can.
They just
the
can't go to
truth
jail
and
for
the
it.
whole truth. The whole
And
truth.
They can't go to jail for it.
they can't go to jail. Well, but you don't know who might.
Unless they refuse to testify. Then they are in contempt of Congress. Then they go to jail until they decide to talk.
And if any of these crimes happened in states that are kind of Trump friendly, these pardons don't protect them from violations of state law.
I mean, because I'm not a big fan. I never have been a big fan of the January 6th stupidity that happened. However, I'm also not a big fan of the misabuse of justice that the people were given. Because I mean, granted, a lot of the people came from Northwest Florida. Let's just be real. I mean, I know, possibly at least a dozen or probably 2 or 3 dozen of the people that were there, hypothetically, and so allegedly.
I think we're all friends with at least a couple of guys who were up there
And we
who
threw them up there.
made a very wise decision in not entering the Capitol. But this is very, very telling.
In fact, I called Scott and said we should go there and take pictures. And Scott was like, "That'd be really good photos." But we did not go, and we didn't. I mean, we would never be stupid enough to go in the damn building.
If you wonder how technology works these days, 4 years ago, after the original January 6th, they started identifying everybody in the crowd, and most of the people in the crowd were identified running through the FBI's database. If that does not scare the bejesus out of you, I don't know what does.
Should.
But they found, I mean, my personal good friend who lives close to downtown was there. He made the wise choice to not go in the Capitol. He's in a raincoat, not wearing anything that says MAGA. There, hi there. We're from the FBI. We'd like to talk.
Exactly.
So, but he had nothing to fear from those guys because, how do you say the people's house? The people's house is the Capitol building.
Exactly. It is.
Well, you guys think that he had nothing to do. I just watched an interview with 2 people who got their pardons today, and one was a girl who was charged with stealing government property because she put her hand on a table. That's it. All right.
Yeah.
And then another guy who never went in the Capitol, and they charged him, and they claimed that he was telling people to go in, and then he was doing things to incite them, which was entirely not true.
Now, what's the recourse on this? I mean, what's their recourse?
How is that not count as false arrest and misappropriation of legal everything? I mean, that's just nuts. If everything's
been pardoned, I mean, who do you go? I mean, they've already pardoned the person who made the charges, and so who do you go after?
Well, I mean, as far as civilly, they can go after the United States government.
Right, criminally. I mean, for wrongful.
Well, I mean, there ain't no criminal
prosecution or anything like that.
Well, no, that's different though. But that's not criminal. That's civil.
Okay, that's true.
And so they can go after the United. And frankly, that may be our best source of charges in response to this stuff, because those guys, when they start filing civil cases, in fact, I would recommend that they file civil rights cases, because then that gives them subpoena power over the entire Congress.
Why don't we try to get a constitutional lawyer here on the show over the next couple of weeks and everything, and let's dig in deep on this one here.
Yeah, we'll see what we can come up with for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, basically, these pardons are out of control. I mean, the way Biden did them, I mean, his whole family like that at the very last minute. I mean, he's literally on the way to the inauguration. I mean,
it's the last thing he signed. It's the last thing he signed. The news blurb kicked on my phone, 2 of them at 12:30 and 12:32.
Yeah. He wasn't
during
even
the
in
inaugural speech.
He had to be signing it from his car or the helicopter.
Now, he had already signed them, but they released the fact that he signed them.
Oh, really?
While Trump was speaking. Yeah. I just don't.
This guy did not want to go, did he? I mean, and they kept saying that Trump didn't want to go. They were going to have to drag Trump out of the White House and drag him out by his toenails and everything else, and he was not going to release power civilly. This is what Biden's doing. Biden is the one who's acting like a little spoiled brat who's been in D.C. for 50 years, screwing up the government and screwing up everything in a partisan witch hunt the entire time. Why he plagiarized, why he cheated, why he stole, and everything else. I mean, Biden Inc. is worth billions of dollars, you think? And nothing happens.
Well, there is discussions. I don't know how far this will go, but there are discussions about doing something to evaluate where Biden is as far as his cognitive decline and maybe overturning some of those pardons. Because if he was functionally not the president, then he's titularly not the president, which means that Kamala was technically the president.
Or Jill.
No, Jill's not in the line of succession.
Well, you're correct on that. It's not the last succession. Yeah, I mean, but what if she was like influencing Joe on?
Well, I'm sure the list of folks like that is long and distinguished.
That's very true. Yeah,
absolutely true. Now, I would then offer this, that they completely lost my train of thought. So if he was in cognitive decline, then that questions almost everything he signed. You know, you can't undo it. Listen, they could uncover the logbook from the hospital in Kenya where Barack Obama was born in 1960 or 61, whenever it was, with pictures of the whole birth with his mom and dad standing there in Kenya, and it wouldn't change it.
And blood stains from the umbilical cord.
Correct.
On the Polaroid picture of the event.
Correct. And it wouldn't change a damn thing. And so there's no way to go after Joe Biden, but I think the revocation of the pardon, and if we just don't forget, never ever forget, the IRS got Al Capone, not the FBI, not the Department of the Treasury, Elliot Ness, didn't happen. The IRS. There you go, buddy. And by the way, they passed the law, or the law was introduced, or they passed it for the Department of External Revenue. Has a nice ring to it, actually.
It absolutely does. I do love the, it's true that they may or may not be able to do something specifically to Joe Biden, but for all the people that were operating on his behalf, they're in serious trouble. There's a very great story that Mike Johnson's telling these days about a meeting that he had with Biden a while back. And he asked him, and he was very concerned. It was right after Johnson got elected speaker. And he asked him, if we could revisit the, what was it? It was liquefied natural gas. So we had cut off sales of liquefied natural gas to Europe for some reason. And Mike Johnson was asking Biden if he could rethink it. And Biden said, I didn't do that. And he says, yes, you did. I've got the executive order. He says, no, that's not, I didn't do that. He says, oh, wait, you're thinking, no, that's an exploratory thing. He says, no, that's not what it is. This was you signing an executive order to close the LNG ports in Louisiana, where my constituents are asking me, can we undo this? And the point is that Biden had no idea what he had done.
Yep.
And frankly, that one may not have been because he didn't know what he was doing. It may have been just because either they just put something in front of him and said, sign this, or someone signed it on his behalf.
Try this on for size.
That would be the real thing to do, is to go through all of those presidential, everything that he signed, and put a handwriting expert on it and see if they think the same person signed all of it.
I mean, Trump was actually explaining everything he signed.
Do they use the auto pen? There's the question. Try this one on for size. Talk about sneaky. The first week of the new year, the Secretary of the Navy, Carlos del Toro, which means the bull, maybe his wife likes that, but I think that more or less that he provides a great deal of bovine excrement, because he did two things. He named the next two aircraft carriers, the USS William J. Clinton aircraft carrier. We're talking about a $2 billion ship that will be in the United States Navy for decades, 2 generations, 50-year lifespan. The William J. Clinton. A lot of semen on it. Very good. I knew that would happen very quickly. And I'm like, wait a minute. This was an impeached president. What are we going to name for Dick Nixon? What? No, seriously, what do you? Richard Nixon was in the United States Navy in World War II. What did they name for him? The answer is they haven't. Bill
Nothing.
Clinton was impeached by vote, wasn't convicted, but he was impeached by the House. So just like Trump was impeached twice.
Exactly.
And they're going to name a billion-dollar aircraft carrier after him. And let me get better. And then the other one is the USS George W. Bush. Now, that may surprise people to know that the USS George H.W. Bush has only been in service about 5 years. And so it still has 40 years to go on its operational lifespan. It will be sailing the seas after all of us are gone. And for what? I mean, George Bush was a United States Air Force pilot, the very first Air Force pilot elected to the presidency, the very first. Yeah. And why don't we name a damn Air Force base after him? Why not? There are plenty of there are 4 Air Force bases in Texas that I can think right off the top of my head, and I don't think he'd have a problem with any of those bearing his name. But Clinton was impeached. He should get exactly what Nixon gets, which so far is nothing. But Del Toro is a political hack. So there you go.
Well, I mean, W is different than HW. I mean, W led a war. Yeah, weapons of mass destruction and Iraq.
Yeah, HW led a war as well, which we achieved victory in, what was it, 72 hours? So
Bush lasted a little bit longer.
And we got out and nobody kept $18 billion worth of our crap.
I mean, how long did Bush's war last? 10 years? I mean...
No, about 18 years. But
18 years.
But the seniors lasted, about a month and a half, 2 months.
He's a better warrior. Schwarzkopf was far better than the team that W had. I mean,
absolutely true. But
we gotta say that the military, the fighting military, was not woke yet. It's before the wokeness. It's pre-wokeism. It's before don't ask, don't tell. It's before all the social imaging of the military. It was a real military back then.
I agree
with Trump. We'll go back to what that was.
Now, I would hope the new Secretary of the Navy would call the former president and the 43rd president and say, Mr. President, I'm sitting here with the Secretary of the Air Force and the Secretary of Defense. Would you mind terribly, sir, if we renamed an Air Force base in your honor as opposed to an aircraft carrier?
We're going to decommission the aircraft carrier?
Well, no, they're going to have 2 George Bushes sailing around in the ocean?
Father and son. We had 2 presidents. W and HW. And then W was drunk for a long time, so he's not anything like his dad.
His dad kept drinking.
Have you seen the movie?
Which one?
W. That's a good movie.
I did. His father was not against the idea of having a cocktail at the end of the day.
No, he wasn't. I mean, the whole point is that there are 2 different presidents, 2 different legacies, and it's not, granted, I mean, it's kind of like, so thank God we didn't have 2 Clintons, I mean, we've only had 2 Bushes and 2 Roosevelts. I mean, but there's something named after Teddy,
and
there's
2
one
Adams.
named after FDR. And so there are 2 Roosevelts.
FDR should be next up on the list because the USS Franklin D. Roosevelt, went away in the late 60s, early 70s. It was a midway class carrier. So that was it was big at the time, but then it got to be like a mid-size.
Well, Biden probably doesn't remember that.
Yeah, well, come on. You're an Air Force dude.
Biden doesn't remember anything from this stuff.
At this point, I'm just glad we only have 1 ship named after a Clinton.
Exactly.
Because imagine, I mean, at least you can kind of make a case for Bill, kind of. But what on earth is the actual compelling case for Hillary? The H.R. Clinton bullshit. And they want to do that. They want to do that so bad.
Try to think of what would be good to name after Hillary.
The Navy, by the way,
an oil tanker.
I got in trouble because when Obama's Secretary of the Navy decided to name some ships, I think I've mentioned this before, the very, very famous guy who started the Farm Workers Union, Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez was in the United States Navy in the 1960s.
That's right.
And is on record saying it is the worst 2 years of his life. I think he got out ahead of a bad discharge or ahead of a court-martial.
Big chicken dinner.
He never, there you go. Bad conduct discharge is what he meant. That's an abbreviation. And it came out that they decided to name a landing ship after him, an amphibious warfare ship. And I remember saying on the air, what are they going to call it? The USS Wetback? Oh my God, they were howling. And yes, he was an American citizen. The vast majority of farm workers are migrants. Some are illegal and come across the border, of course. What are you scratching your head for? It's the truth. And it turns out that we at the time at that radio station had a Hispanic female doing traffic. She went screaming into the general manager's office. I can't believe he said that. I'm a talk show host. Guess what my job is to do? To get people talking. And so I succeeded. But you can't do that. Well, what are they
got her talking?
Yeah, got her. That's one. That's one. And she talked to the general manager. That's two. So we'll take that process. And
Facebook will like us more than that.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. And the other thing that same Obama Secretary of the Navy did was name a Ford-class carrier Doris Miller. Now, Doris Miller was an African-American ship's steward. He was a cook on the USS Arizona. Not the Arizona, the Nevada. At Pearl Harbor, in the movie Pearl Harbor, which was a terrible movie, but Cuba Gooding Jr. played him. The captain was gut shot. He went to try to help him, and then he jumps up and gets on a machine gun and proceeds to shoot a Japanese aircraft. Undisputed heroism. I've got that. A Navy Cross. First African-American with a Navy Cross. Terrific.
Right.
No problem. Was killed a couple of years later in World War II. Okay, an aircraft carrier, a $2 billion aircraft carrier for a seaman who never served on a aircraft carrier. I don't know.
Well. To be fair, they don't have they don't have battleships anymore. So the big ship is the aircraft carrier. In the 80s,
They
turned them all off.
Bring those back.
No,
they can't.
They're
They're
awesome.
No,
though. The power
they really
of this thing.
listen. They battleships.
I'm an
they're
Air Force guy, so I don't know much.
Well,
about
I know
that.
that. Oh, come on, Greg, jump in on this. Do you know who Goodfellow was?
Yes.
He's got an Air Force base named after him.
I know. I went there.
And Dias,
How's that
an Air Force base. And what's the other? Laughlin? Who's Laughlin? He's in Del Rio, Texas. Okay, it's a pilot training base. You got Kelly, Randolph. Randolph, yeah, that's kind of classic.
You got
Kelly's closed. Where'd you go?
Shepherd Air Force
Lackland.
Base.
Who the hell's Lackland? I don't know the names of these people. But the point being that if you named one of them after Bush, let's say Lackland, because that is the primary training base for all U.S. Air Force enlisted people.
It is the headquarters for the base.
Boom.
Yeah.
Right there. That's
beautiful, San Antonio.
Well, I will tell you one of my personal hopes, now that just occurred to me, I hope Trump does, is that he renames it Fort Bragg again.
They stop calling it Fort Bragg. I've obviously been out of the loop here on some of these namings.
They
Fort
call
Bragg
it
Fort Bragg for years.
They changed it to Fort Liberty. Of all the places
that?
Of all of the places they could name. Now, this is not rehearsed.
Who the hell did that?
This is not rehearsed. The one I agree most strongly with was Fort Rucker in Alabama. And they renamed that Fort Novacell. Seriously, this was not rehearsed. I had no idea where we're going to go here. Fort Novacell.
This naming.
The Pentagon spent years. They had a huge
Rucker
committee.
Is a great Rutgers. That's a great
Mother
name
Rucker,
for a base.
Mother Rucker
Rucker is wonderful.
to all of Air Force, to all of Army helicopter, Army flight world. Ditto with Bragg for all the airborne and Benning for that matter. But I don't have a problem with Benning named for Hal Moore. Great guy. Absolutely terrific general. And really the daddy, not the daddy, but the guy who made air mobile warfare work in the 1st Cavalry Division.
We have Langley Air Force Base, which actually, named after,
Samuel Pierpont Langley. For 30 years, the Smithsonian Institution, he was the director of the Smithsonian. And for 30 years, they maintained that he was the first person to fly. I'm serious. So that's a bunch of BS. Was he an aeronautical engineer? No, he wasn't. He built a huge monstrosity airplane that went off the deck. Basically, they built a ship and they put this wooden deck and this called the aerodrome It was
Uh-huh.
so enormous, it came off the end of the deck and went right into the water. That's it. It did not fly. It dropped into the water. They counted that as a flight.
But it is a
Is
first
it,
fighter wing, and it's
yeah,
the first fighter wing of the Air Force.
Well, I know
yeah,
that,
but
but
is
Yeah.
the plane you were talking about, Rob, the big one that's over at the Naval Air Museum,
oh no, that's the
the big
NC-4.
biplane?
No, that's my great uncle was on one of the other NCs and made that flight all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. 1919, way
Wow.
before Lindbergh, but they did stop about every 50 miles and get a tank of gas. So that's another
Yeah, but
story.
I remember my uncle. He was the first Air Force pilot to shoot down a Japanese plane.
Was your
His
uncle
name was
was
Buddy
your
Schaefer. I think he was. Yes, his name was Buddy Schaefer. My great
Buddy
uncle.
Schaefer? I'll look it up. All right.
Yeah, my great uncle, not my uncle. So yeah.
I want to look up Buddy Schaefer. Okay. I'm going to leave you guys for
All right.
right now. Next week, when we
Yeah.
do this, we're going to talk about who's going to win the election in the 1st Congressional District of Florida, but it's
6th.
just the primary. Now, Mike Waltz quit yesterday, Inauguration Day, to become the National Security Advisor. I have not seen Governor DeSantis saying when you're going to have your special election
No,
for that
the
district.
election's the same day. Same day.
They already called him. Okay.
They already did it. It's going to
Okay.
be the 28th. They got Randy Fine.
Who replaces Ashley Moody?
They're gonna his chief of staff. DeSantis' chief of staff. What's his name? Well,
I can never remember.
this is a horrible
Okay.
time to forget names.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
the chief of staff for DeSantis is the new attorney general for Florida.
Okay.
We'll have
On
his
that-
name come up here on the screen in a second.
A week
sir.
from right now, we will be able to list another 250 things that Donald Trump has done. We're exhausted right now. Thank you for
Look,
joining the Political
least-
Matrix News. We would appreciate a like, a share, a smile, a pat on the back, a cold beer next time we walk into your favorite bar. All right.
Exactly.
Oh, a subscription too. That wasn't help. On behalf of Greg Fink, Scott Miller, I'm Rob Milford. We'll see you next week on the Political Matrix News.